Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
So this happened a little over a few years ago when I worked for one of the UK's top retailers. Our store had not long implemented the home delivery service, and being a new feature to our store, there were obviously teething problems with the system, but our team always managed to give it their all, and only minimal mistakes slipped through the cracks. Fast forward a few months later, and our delivery system had now been fully established, and 99% of the mistakes came from customer errors ranging from selecting the wrong date to placing the order for pickup instead of home delivery. You name the mistake, we were the ones blamed for their incompetence. I wasn't a supervisor for this role, but my duties required me to make supervisory decisions whenever I didn't require manager's approval and deal with customer queries. One day I got a call from one of my drivers who informed me that the customer's property was now closed up and looked as though it had been abandoned for weeks. I looked at the delivery address on the system and noticed that the postcode, US's zip code, didn't match with the address. Googled the postcode and found that the customer had changed only his street name when updating his details. And they neglected to change their postcode, in which the driver's GPS system relied on for ensuring that the driver went to the right place. The new address is 30 miles in the opposite direction to my driver's route and just a couple of miles outside of our catchment area, a specific border between other stores that offered delivery. Due to the company's policy, the driver was only and legally required to wait 15 minutes for a customer no-show, as they are warned in plenty of time to ensure that there is someone present to receive the items. Knowing this, I asked him to bring the items back when he's in the area, and I will put them on the next delivery vehicle going out, as his second drop was reasonably close to the new address. This meant that the customer would still get their shopping that day, but it meant that it was going to be a little later than expected. As I was gathering the required documents to initialize a changeover to delivery vehicle and noting the extra discrepancy in miles and time, the phone rang. "Hi, blah blah blah, how can I help you?" "Hey, this is X from customer service. I have a customer on the line asking about his delivery. It's Ken, the lovely customer who forgot to change his postcode." "Hi, sure, place him on." Now, it's at this point in time where I should note that our delivery store always endeavored to give the store phone number to customers for direct contact and to help save the customer a hefty phone bill, as the customer service number is charged at 75 pence per minute, around $1.06. Standard rates for local numbers were considerably lower at 15 pence per hour, around 21 cents, or free depending on a network provider and plan. "Hi, I've been waiting on my delivery and I haven't received it yet, and it's now over 10 minutes from the delivery slot. Can you find out what's happening, please?" Yes, he really did say 10 minutes, which is still reasonably acceptable given driving conditions, weather, and so on. "Hello, sir. I was just on my way to call you." "Oh, don't give me that. I know nonsense when I see it. Where is my delivery?" "Oh, great. Sir, as I'm trying to explain to you, there has been a mix-up with your address." "What? Don't you dare say that to me. I want my delivery." "How old are you?" "Sir, as I was trying to explain, there has been a mix-up with your address. When you changed your address, you've forgotten to change your postcode, which has—" "I didn't forget to change anything. You must have done something wrong." "I can assure you, sir, it was nothing I did. Sure, I hacked into the company's records to change your new postcode to your old postcode, just to screw with you, you know?" "I'm sorry for any inconvenience, but at this moment in time, my driver is on the last of his deliveries, as in on his way back to the store to hand over your—" I'm about to say hand over your goods to another driver, so it can be delivered a little later tonight, and that if he wouldn't mind waiting until then, you'll just get on a phone with your driver and order him to turn around." "I'm sorry, sir, I can't do that, as he needs to adhere to the allotted delivery route and time or risk running a service investigation. This is why they were late for the rest of their route, which could ultimately result in the driver not being able to deliver in the future. Thankfully, this did change later on to give drivers an hour leeway after a slew of customer and driver complaints. I start saying, I'm willing to, before he cut me off. What? Are you serious? I own a delivery company myself, and if any of my drivers pulled that stunt, they wouldn't be working for me. Knowing I wasn't getting anywhere with him, I decided to let him rant, and I placed the phone on speaker and got on with the rest of my job, having already decided to cancel his order. While the customer is ranting and shouting on the phone, I have cleaned up the area, swept it, cleaned up any spills, took out the trash, stacked the crates, and laid the area out for the next morning to make it easier for the team's workers. Once I've done this, a manager from another department has come to see what all the noise was. So I nod off the phone and he starts to listen in. 2 minutes later, he moves, looks at me, and proceeds to say, "What a jerk." He moves away, and finally this epic rant has come to an end. Or so I thought. "Hello, are you still there?" I quickly answered, "Yes, I'm here." By this point, I looked at the clock and it had been a whole 45 minutes, on top of the 10 minutes from the start of our conversation and the average 20 minutes wait time from the call center. The subtotal of the call more than £56, which is nearly $80. This is relevant. Well, as I previously stated, I won't be able to send the driver back. By this point, he had returned to the store, but I would happily. Too late. He goes into a rant again for a further 30 minutes. During this time, I leave him to rant off speakerphone and go to the toilet. Then I went for a cigarette. Then I had a soda. And oh, I think I'll have a packet of chips. Hoping that he'd finished his rant and hung up. Subtotal of the call, around £80, which is over $110. Still relevant. Boy oh boy was I wrong. As I picked up the receiver, the customer finished the sentence and asked what I was going to do about his delivery. And I say, "Unfortunately, sir, there is nothing that I can do. All I can do now is direct you back to our customer service to file a complaint, and hopefully you can get it sorted, as I'm not authorized to redeliver your goods." "Don't bother. Cancel my order, and I won't be using your services again." With the least condescending manner I can muster, I tell him, "I'm sorry you feel that way, sir. Please accept my apologies and have a nice day." Click. I quickly rang the store manager and let her know what had happened, just in case he decided to file a complaint. The store manager burst out laughing and said, "I'll deal with it." I never heard any more about it and never received any more orders from him. Why was the total price of the call relevant? Well, he spent all that time ranting, raving, and not letting me speak, racking up a final phone bill of around £82, which is nearly $117. Now his total delivery order, £25, which is like $33, the minimum requirement for a delivery order. When I realized what he had done, I was in hysterics. Being a rude, bordering on abusive customer and expecting me to sit and listen to him like a scalded little schoolboy wasn't exactly a fortune, since he had his own delivery company, but it still sounded like sweet karma. Would love to have seen his face when he received his bell. Thanks for listening. I was at my local grocery store in New Zealand. They are called Countdown, and I was in the bakery section when this woman with a clown face from all the very unwell done makeup came up to me and said, "Where are Marshmallow Brand X?" I didn't like the way she looked at me nor how she asked her question, so I told her, "First off, I don't work here, and second off, no need to." She cut me off. "Stop lying and go to the back and get them for me or I will sue you." Then Karen yanks me back, makes me fall over. "Lady." This is when an employee comes over from the commotion. He says, "Ma'am, I'm going to have to tell you to stop screaming or I'm going to have to kick you out of the store." "You can't do that. He punched me, and if you don't kick him," pointing at me, "out of this store, I'm going to sue." What this lady didn't know is that I'm a regular to this Countdown, and the employees as well as the manager know me as a friendly real Admiral who loves gummy bears. It's my guilty pleasure. This is when the manager comes over from hearing this woman and seeing her pull me back. "Ma'am, get out of my store," the manager tells her. "A customer can't kick me out, so I'm not leaving. I'm not a customer. I'm the manager, and if you don't leave this instant, I'm going to call the cops and have you arrested for assault." "That's unfair. He punched me. I never touched him." "Ma'am, I saw the whole thing go down. And he," points at me, "never laid a finger on you. Plus I know him. He's not only a very nice man, but also a general in the Royal New Zealand Navy. I know he would not lay a hand on you." She sputtered a bit and said, "Fine, call the cops. They will find out he's lying." The manager called the cops and they took us in different rooms for each of our sides of the story. I don't know what Karen said, but I told the cops that she pulled me back, causing me to fall, and all the while screaming her head off at me. The cops then checked the security cameras to see who was lying, and Karen was caught red-handed. Police officer says, "Ma'am, you're coming with us." The cop then took Karen to the police car, but not without her screaming and kicking. And that's the end of my terrifying encounter with a Karen. Background: I work with an admission and career counseling team of students from various universities and institutions in different fields. Our main aim is to help students and their parents gain a first-hand idea of student life, challenges, college applications, workload, and other such issues regarding colleges and universities both nationally and internationally. We also have guidance experts and counselors on board for specific concerns. Most of the people in the team are not affiliated with universities except as symbol students from said university. This is important. Our main work includes talking to parents and students, helping out with applications, proofreading essays, helping build a portfolio, and so on. We never guarantee admission, nor do we claim to be able to ensure your kid's admission. The way we reach out to students is either via their schools inviting us for presentations or via word of mouth. We recently did a presentation for a mixed group of parents and students in an A-list private school in the city of our main office. We had a table with pamphlets and contact details and forms for students or parents to fill out or take with them. We also had a couple of people sitting at the table for people to come up to talk to personally. We had a largely positive response, however, some obvious cases of why should I hire you when there is no guarantee of admission from you, and what can you do for the child that I cannot do, and other similar questions we are prepared to answer. However, this Karen took the cake. She was initially sweet, came up to me, started asking me details of my own schooling and background, again very common, and my career path. She then moved down to a student from a new yet very popular university. Think Ivy League level of our country. She asked for details of her schooling and background and then proceeded to take a few pamphlets and move back, letting others talk to the student representatives. While I was entertaining some of the school admin, principal, and counselor and senior teachers, Karen made her way back to the table, beelining for the student representative. She pushed herself up to the front and loudly demanded the student representative to convince her that her university was worth the huge fee and the hype, and to convince her to send her kid to the university. The representative, while very smart and quick on her feet, obviously fumbled a bit. This is not a marketing job, and she's all but a young student herself. She quickly recovers and strings together an answer. While her answer impressed a whole host of students and parents alike, Karen looked less than impressed. She grumbled something, but I did not catch what she said over the clamoring of parents and teachers asking the rest of the student representatives questions and talking. We soon got distracted and didn't see Karen again. I thought that was the end of it. Boy, was I wrong. So the way counseling works is we offer students and their parents one open counseling session in a group. We publish our session details and parents are free to walk in, pay a small fee, nominal, and attend the session to see if we will be a good fit for them and their children. This is a generic session that covers the basics of how to plan for college and college selections. Then parents can email us or call us to book a session. In this, they can specify the name of a counselor or give a specific requirement they would like us to address so we can assign a counselor accordingly. They then attend the session with the assigned counselor, and on the basis of collective feedback, we decide whether they are good fits for each other and proceed from there on. Now, I don't work as a counselor. My job description includes outreach, general advice, team management, event organization, and other similar roles. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be one. So when my coworker called me over to tell me that a disgruntled parent who had already done the open session and the 101 session wanted to book a session with me and mentioned me by name, I was baffled. My name is nowhere in the advisors or counselors or even student representative lists. So I declined to host a session. I cannot, and I will be fired or pulled up for it, but offered to host the parent and kid for a coffee discussion. My coworker called back the parent in front of me, and while I could not hear her exact words, even though the phone was not on loudspeaker, I could hear her scream and yell. She was finally calm enough and agreed to meet me, but she wanted a meeting the same day. I was going to have a relatively empty day, so I nodded yes to my coworker to confirm my availability. I was already not having a good feeling about this lady. She was punctual, very punctual, and it's rather unusual in my experience. She walks in and behind her was a sharply dressed young girl in her school uniform. This was a weekend and I know the school doesn't take classes in person or on weekends, so there was no need for a uniform. They walked in and a girl, a nice kid, softly greeted me, addressed me formally with a lot of respect and introduced her mom. The lady launched into an informal conversation with me about how great it was to see a familiar face again and started talking to me as if we had known each other. It took me a second to connect the dots, but I quickly did and asked her if she was the same Karen from the school event I organized. She said yes. So we sat down and had a long conversation about college and post-school education. This was not a paid session. I was doing it on my own dime and time, where she kept cutting me off and talking over me, but I'm used to nervous and entitled parents, so I stayed patient. I gently reminded her that I wasn't a professional counselor, which she ignored. She then brought up University X, the same one she had pestered the student representative about. I said, "So my husband and I did some research into it, and we think this university will be the best for our daughter. Money is not an issue with us. Just tell me how much it will cost to send her there." I presumed she meant university fees, so I quickly opened up the university website and started explaining it to her. She once again cut me off, and this time by aggressively snapping her fingers in front of my face while I was looking at the laptop and talking. No. I know all that. Even I can Google, okay? I meant how much will I have to pay you? Once again, I presumed she meant what our fees were for a general counseling structure. So I once again started explaining the details of it to her. Once again, a finger in my face and a root cut off. Are you that dense? Wow. For someone from the school you went to, I would not expect this stupidity. She then explained in our regional language, with slow, punctuated words, as if speaking to a child, that she meant how much would it cost her to make sure her child gets into that university as a bribe. While I was offended, this was my place of work and I could not throw her out. Plus, we often have parents ask us something similar. The whole guarantee admission to our kid bit. I matched her tone and explained to her that we don't offer such services, that it was illegal and all we could do was coach and help her daughter hone her skills, but not ensure admission. Cue the tantrum. The biggest, loudest, most entitled screaming fit I have ever seen a 40-something lady have ensued. We were in a glass meeting room towards the end of the office space, and we were surrounded by basically the entire department, including my boss. My boss walked in as she saw the situation getting worse and worse, and my attempts to calm Karen down failed. She sharply cut Karen off and introduced herself. Karen then launched a complaint against me, calling me a cheat and accusing me of making false promises and of falsely advertising the fact that I would get her daughter in during the school open house. She also started demanding that I be fired and that my boss makes sure that her daughter was admitted into University X, otherwise she would sue all of us for malpractice and false advertising. First of all, I always repeat multiple times that we do not guarantee an admission. Second of all, we legally cannot do so, so any promises made on illegal grounds are not enforceable into a court of law. Third of all, each open house session is recorded and stored for training and future references. Boss reviewed each session and was hence very well aware of what I had and had not said in a session. These were then communicated to her by my very stern-looking boss. Karen once more yelled about how she would sue us to the point of bankruptcy and grabbed her kid, who was easily 17 or 18, by the wrist and dragged her out, pushing a very expensive ceramic vase down on her way out. Well, we called the police. She has charged her for damages of property, barred her from our services, and sent a description of the event along with the contact details to friendly counselors who freelance with us or we know of to warn them. Now we're waiting for her to sue us. The legal representative is basically bouncing out of her chair in excitement. We know we did nothing wrong.